Good evening, Geoff.
Good evening, Sister Avril. How are you?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm well.
Great. Thanks for being here. Just waiting for everyone to join us. And thanks to all who already logged on. We're here and we'll be coming to you shortly. And as the guests arrive, we thank you who already tuned in. Shirley Tripico, good evening. Imagine you're the first person to say hello, Shirley. That is not like you. And if you're the first to say hello, and I can see the others that are already logged on, I can only see the comments, but I cannot see who is on. I could only see that the people are on. Good evening, Amelia Patrice. Thank you so much for joining us. As we wait for our guests to arrive, Teresa Brown in Pennsylvania, good evening to you. And as we ask to continue to share the live, we thank you so much for being here with us. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. The guests are coming in, and as they do, I want to thank everyone. Shirley Tripico, Amelia Patrice, Teresa Brown in Pennsylvania, Problem Phipps, everyone who is tuning so far. We thank you so much for sharing this live. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I can see your comments, and I do appreciate everyone who is already locked in and sharing this program. As we wait for just one more of our guests, we're waiting on the senator to join us, who will be joining us shortly. But as we know, we start our program on time because time is very important. Good evening to you, Beverly Gibson. Teresa, we appreciate. Thank you so much. And Amelia Patrice, I know you're going to be a big supporter. When it comes to you, thank you so much. Shabir, good evening to you. Good evening. We're here and we can see that the folks are logging on, and we're here. We're live on social media throughout YouTube and wherever we are. We thank you for sharing it. Thank you, St. Kitts. Thank you, Pennsylvania. Sandra Paulban, thank you so much. Good evening to you. And we're also waiting on one special lady who will be joining us. So we have two guests that is missing. And as we wait, so far we have Attorney Hugh Campbell, Dr. Ed Lowe, we have Geoff Monroe, we have Mr. Albert Williams also here with us. Nice to see icon personalities. Thank you, Mr. Shabergo. I'm the only one who is not an icon tonight. But I'm just thrilled to see the Honorable our Bronx DA. I don't know. I just don't know how she does it, but we'll find out. Cheryl DeWitt, good evening to you. Cheryl DeWitt, who is shy and say, I would like to be on the panel, but I'm camera shy. So, Cheryl, thank you so much for joining us and share the live. And we're waiting on the senator and also our Bronx District Attorney. Good evening, Long Island. Good evening to you. Long Island in the house joining the Bronx. It's always a pleasure. And we have houses in the Bronx, so feel free to move on up. Mysteries Young. So right now we're here and we're just going to start the program by having, we're going to start with As long as the platform is open, as long as the DA say to start the show, then the show is going to start.
But
And
Avril, I'm here. You don't see me?
oh yeah, I say as long as the DA say to start the show.
I've been here.
That's right, and you're ready to start. So, so to everyone who's sharing the program, we thank you so much. Continue to share this program because tonight is our night to celebrate. We have come a long way. And when you look at the host tonight, there is so much to say about this special day that we're celebrating. And we're joined tonight by Albert Williams. Albert, I would let you introduce yourself. We're not going to keep the viewers waiting, but as they join us, we will continue to say thank you to everyone. Albert?
Okay, so good afternoon, good evening. Albert Williams, I'm President and CEO of Bestial Car Service located in the Northeast Bronx. We've been around for about 30 some odd years. I purchased Bestial about 10 years ago, and now I'm continuing to grow the business and support the community.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Gloria Bent, for that. Okay, we have Geoff Monroe.
Good evening, Real, and things to all of our guests and audience.
We're hearing some breaking up in your. I don't know if it's your headset. Try talking again.
Sing 1 2. Does that sound?
Yes, it's a lot of noise.
Really. Okay. I don't know what to do about it. Do you want me to try and? I'm gonna log back in.
What about if you try? Can you do it without the headset and see if it will work?
Sure. You hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go right ahead. But now we're getting a feedback.
Is it still worse?
It's a feedback. Yeah, since you did whatever you did.
I don't know what it's doing now because it's on the speaker.
Go right ahead. I'll speak again.
Okay, so 1 2. How does that sound? Testing.
Okay, I'll try. I'm feeding back with. So you want to log back in, as you say?
That would be I'm gonna put back in quick.
Okay.
I'm re-engaging with the headset. That was the original problem. Has it gotten worse or better or not at all?
I can hear you, but it's having some cracking in the back. But go ahead and let's see if we can hear you now.
Okay. I'll continue. I'll try to speak slowly enough. Make sure it's out. So I'm Geoff Monroe. Thank you for being patient with the techniques, which I sympathize heavily with audio technician. We go through these things every day.
You're breaking up. Every word you say is repeating itself. Yeah. So let's see if you could maybe try to log back in.
Okay.
Yes.
Bye.
Okay. All right. So we will hear from Dr. Ed Lowe.
Hi, I'm Dr. Ed Lowe. I'm a practitioner here in the Bronx, Manhattan, and Southern Westchester. I grew up here in the Bronx. I'm a graduate of City College and Columbia College of Physicians and Surgeons. I did my residency at Jacobi, Lincoln, and Albert Einstein College Hospital.
Thank you so much. It's good to have you, and good evening to you, Josephine Kelly, Gloria Benton, Monique Francis, who just joined us, and Geoff, you're back.
Okay. This is how is it?
No, it's still the same.
This thing. That's unfortunate. I can try on my desk.
Yeah, that might be better.
We'll see how that works out.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so as we wait for our guests to come in, it's probably yes, the headphones, as Cheryl Dewitt says. It is so. Tonight we're joined by our district attorney. Some people always say Avril, you always say my, so I have to say our because she is our district attorney, and I always say my co-host, Mr. the Honorable Hugh Campbell. Go right ahead and introduce yourself as the regular. They see you all the time.
Good evening, everyone, and happy M.L.K. Day. And I'm happy to see everyone, and I think this is going to be a very exciting and engaging discussion this evening. I see we just got joined by Senator Bailey. Good evening, Senator Bailey. And I just want to thank everyone for showing up. I know, especially D.A. Clark. She probably was at it since 6 a.m. this morning, so we're going to permit her to leave earlier than normal so she can get some rest. But I just want to thank everybody for coming in this evening.
Thank you so much. And as we are joined here by our Bronx Senator, Senator Jamaal Bailey, who also I know probably wish she could have one day off, but I appreciate you taking the time. Thank you so much, Senator. Go right ahead and introduce yourself to anyone who says, I don't know who is the senator.
My pleasure. You never assume in this business 101. You always introduce yourself because you're always meeting someone for the first time, and first impressions you can't get back. I am New York State Senator Jamaal T. Bailey, proudly representing the 36th Senatorial District, the North Bronx, in the great city of Mount Vernon in Westchester County. And Mr. Campbell, I'm going to have to, let you know, let the audience know, charge it to my head and not to my heart, or charge it to my ability to drive. I got to go to Albany early in the morning, so I will be making an earlier than normal exit this evening. The Avril show is usually until 1 a.m. It's the late night turn up, but I'm not going to be a late night turn up. I'm going to go turn in so I can drive up safely tomorrow. So, but Avril, again, thank you for having me on the show. It's great to be here with my DA and my BP and Albert from Best Deal, great business, businessman, the attorney, the community's attorney, Dr. Lowe, and you, Avril. Just happy to be here celebrating M.L.K. Day with some great folks.
Thank you so much. And Senator, you didn't have to blow me up, because when you have people in the house, say St. Kitts and Co-op Cities in the house, I see, but Vanessa Monroe College is in the house. Good evening to everyone who tuned in to us tonight. Senator, remember, I made the show 9 to 10 tonight, especially because I took into consideration watching everyone running and all over the place. Montefiore, good evening to you, Karen Grant. I just felt so guilty tonight to even have a show. But it's just for you to say thank you for being here. It means much to me. It shows that my vote does not go in vain. It's a pleasure to vote. Thank you so much. And for everyone who is out there joining me this evening, I don't know how to introduce our last guest that came in, but I have to do this before we introduce the final guest. Without this, we couldn't move, but I have to do this. So give me 1 second. We are going to.
This is a box-breaking year. This is a year for the unexpected. This is your year to do what you've never done before. This is your year to move into a complete different dimension. There's a spirit of gratitude that comes into your life because your life is not normal and it is not routine. When you walk with God, God will always do the unexpected.
I had to do that. I had to do that. This is not to give any trouble, but this had to be the introduction. Thank you. Tonight we're joined by our honorable, let me introduce this right. Our first, some people say our first woman of color and first lady, the honorable, our Bronx district attorney. Our Bronx.
Time. I mean,
Our borough president.
We interchange. We
We
get
have
mixed up all the time. She stands in for me sometimes. I stand in for her. It's okay. We're good.
And I get left out.
They're both the first women, so we can.
Yeah, right. Ms. Clark, you're the first DA, and I go back as far as Burt Roberts.
So we're gonna have our borough president introduce herself.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Happy Dr. King Day. Peace and blessings to everyone. I am Vanessa L Gibson. I am the new Bronx Borough President. I took office officially on January 1st, and I'm honored to join the Avril Francis show tonight with my distinguished colleagues and community leaders. And prior to my time at Borough Hall, which has only been 2 weeks, I served as a council member of District 16 in the West Bronx. And as you could see by the presentation that Sister Avril just showed, one of my mentors is and will always be the late, great Honorable Aurelia Green, who gave me my start as an intern. So grateful for her leadership and her love. And I'm so proud to stand on her shoulders as the newly elected Bronx Borough President.
As you did that, we have to give a round of applause. Daniel Severa, good evening to you.
Welcome.
Welcome. Listen, it is Sandra Parbon. Yes. It is an honor to sit here tonight and to say this show have never been the way it is tonight. It's the first show where I can say we have come a long way. This is the year of change. When you look here tonight, our first woman of color, our district attorney, our Bronx Borough president. And we have men here tonight. We have 4 men. So I'm not going to put it in there and say women are on the rise, because sometimes the men say, oops, it looks like they're trying to push us out there. So I can't use that word. Plum Olive, good evening to you also. But we want to speak about how far we've come since the day of Martin Luther King. Have we seen the change? Because I've seen the change. When you look at the panel tonight, I've seen the change. And I'm not going to let the attorney speak first, because I think Hugh and I can stay here until 1 o'clock in the morning. But we're not going to do it to any one of our officials tonight, because Senator, I see you with your big cup of something drinking. Is to keep you up.
Peppermint tea.
Yes.
I can't. No caffeine is late. I'll be bouncing off the walls.
I think Avril, even though he's somewhat modest, Dr. Lowe, he's probably one who has so much history behind him.
So
in terms of
we're gonna get to him, but you see, when he has so much, we can keep him there. But we are going to make sure that we hear from Senator Bailey before he just fall asleep on us tonight. I know that our Bronx District Attorney, I sympathize with you, and our Borough President. I don't know how you do it, because we don't want to make any one of you shed tears tonight, but just watching the fire. And you said 2 weeks in office. If you're 2 weeks in office and people like myself are going through so much, watching the news and seeing what's going on out here, my heart goes out to you when we were saying it's freezing cold out there. But you're out there looking warm, but we know you're cold. But you're doing what the people elected you to do. You stand on the ground of Martin Luther King tonight to say you continue the dream. Senator, what can you say about the women that are here tonight and how far we come as a people?
I think that you were right in what you said initially, Avril, that women are on the rise. And look, and the other hat that I wear is the chair of the Bronx Democratic County Organization. I'm proud to note that we have a majority women delegation in the city council for the first time. Women are, finally being respected as the leaders, the natural born leaders that we know they are, the wives, the mothers, the sisters, the aunties. And we've known that in our community for quite some time. The electorate hasn't always been able to see the benefit of that, but now based upon the leadership of these strong women and the other women that we have in the city council, in the assembly as well. I believe a majority female delegation there as well with the election of Udelka Tappy in the 86. Women are in prime position, as you said. So I think you are 100% correct, Avril, to state that women are in fact on the rise. I will say something though, in relation to today, in Dr. King's day, in the message that I like to convey. You can pick any Dr. King quote, right? Because the man in his 39 years, and only 39 years, I just like to remind everybody that he passed away at 39. Ironically enough, Malcolm X also passed away at 39. So that seemed to be a not so magic number for those gentlemen, but it makes you realize that at 39, look at the body of work he accomplished. And my favorite Dr. King quote is, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? And I can tell you that what we in the Bronx are doing for others, for people that couldn't do anything, the outpouring to be able to say that we have too many donations, right? That we have too much stuff to give to these families is something that that warms my heart. So that persistent question is, what is the Bronx doing for others? What we are doing for others? We stepping up. And that's under the leadership of our borough president and our DA, who are front and center, and all of the my colleagues in government. Dr. King, his legacy just, I don't know, without Dr. King, none of us would be here. Elected official, any of us, right? Without what he's done to normalize success and greatness, and to make sure that he was a faithful man. He put God first, and it fills your heart to be able to attempt to walk in his shoes, and it hits me even more. And I'm going to wrap up here, Avril, that I am 39, and I look at my life, and I look at the work that I've been able to do in the community with all of your help, and the Bailey Bunch's help, and the community's help, and my family's help, and I look at the body of work that Dr. King did, and let's look at. I want you to realize how great this man was and is, and what his reign continues to be.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Let's hear from Albert Williams, Bestial Car Service, who is in the community doing so much, giving back and making it different. Can you hear us, Albert?
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm getting feedback from Geoff.
Yeah.
Go right ahead.
Yeah. So, keeping with the theme of 39, right? I migrated from Jamaica 39 years ago, right? I'm 46 years old. I've been in the Bronx since I migrated from Jamaica. I lived in Dallas for a couple months, but 39 seems to be the magic number. With M.L.K. Day, with Jamaal said, he's 39 years old. I've been in the Bronx 39 years, and I think going back to what you said, Avril, the rise of not necessarily the rise, the recognition of women in this world, in this society. It's about time, right? New York City, New York State has always led the way. There's a lot of firsts in New York. There's a lot of firsts where we are today, right? And we have an opportunity as civic leaders, as business leaders, as to lead the way, to be an example for the rest of the world to follow, right? So with the Vanessas of the world, the Miss Gibsons of the world, Miss Clarks of the world, right? We want to make sure that I do what I could do to help you guys so we could continue to lead the way, right? New York should lead the way. New York should set an example. I mean, we've done it before, right? And this is what New York is all about. There's a little place in New York called the Bronx that we all represent. So I've represented the Bronx for the last 39 years, proud to call it home for the last 39 years, so one capacity or another.
I think, Albert, you need to one day get one of those special vehicle. Yeah, one of those special vehicle. Wait, let me finish.
No,
because you don't know what I'm saying. Let one of those days where I can just see not to see our Bronxboro president walk into the Bronx, but drive into the Bronx so we can wave. Now you understand where I was going.
Okay, we
It's
could do that.
That's right. We want to
We could
see
do
her
that.
just parade into the Bronx, not on foot, but to give her that Martin Luther King wave to the Bronx and all the way to Co-op City. And when we hear the horn, we know it's the Bronx Borough president. And you could put the DA in there because we want to make sure that she's fully represented. So, Honorable, we would like to see you drive through the Bronx instead of on foot. You've been on foot for the last 2 weeks. You've been put in office. I say you come in at a year when there is fire, when violence is on the rise, crime is on the rise. There's so much going on. I used to ask the DA, how do you do it? But she got some companion now, so I got to say, how do you guys do it? I don't know. But now I'm going to turn it over to you, Honorable, our Bronx Borough president.
Thank you. And thank you again, Sister Avril, and to everyone on the show, everyone watching. It is really an honor to be the Bronx Borough president. And I think about the path that has been laid for me. I think about the folks that have come before me that have laid the real groundwork for me to be in office. And I'm humbled and I'm honored. And now it's my time to shine and set my own footprints in the history of the Bronx. And, all of you know this journey was not easy. Yes, we had a tremendous amount of support, but there were many doubters that saw us getting to the victory line. But as someone who knows my faith is my foundation, I know and knew all along that this was God's plan. This was what God wanted to happen. And all I did was follow his lead. And I never imagined, as I took office January 1st, in my second week, that we would be hit with this horrific 5-alarm fire. And I'm no stranger to tragedies. I've stood with mothers and fathers mourning their children. I've stood at rallies and marches and demonstrations. I've been to so many funerals. So I'm not new to tragedies, but I can honestly say I've never experienced anything like this, where we had to bury 17 neighbors, 9 adults and 8 children, the youngest being 2. It is one of the most painful things that anybody could ever experience in their life. And we're elected officials. And so I always say, in the middle of our storm, we have to find solutions. And through the midst of pain, we have to find a purpose. And sometimes you feel weary, you feel tired, but all of you know, as public servants, you have to keep pushing along. You have to keep pressing forward, even sometimes when you don't want to. It's the spirit and the strength of God that truly moves you to be a leader. And as leaders, we have to step up in the good and the bad times. But I also think during the challenging and bad times is when leaders will really step up. And during these types of tragedies, when you're hit with fires that damage apartments and take lives, you really have to step up. And it's not been easy, but the past week I've been able to be on the ground every day because I have to. And I just feel a personal responsibility to do so. This is the borough that I represent as the borough president. You have to be visible. You can't just be a name. You can't just be a face. You have to put your entire body on the line to help your people, because we take this personal. Those are our people. Those are our children that lost their lives, and mothers that lost children, and siblings that lost their brothers and sisters. And so we take it personal. And so to me, it's the easier part is to show up. The toughest part is to collaborate, to organize, and in the face of adversity, to make sure that people are united. And they're really working on one accord. I mean, you understand, working with multiple agencies, it's really challenging. But, I always think about those that have come before me, just like the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And people talk about his nonviolent ways, him being a leader, teacher, and a preacher, a civil rights leader. But let's understand, he was also a revolutionary leader. He fought for racial equality and social justice, but he disrupted the status quo. He was fighting for sanitation workers on the day he was assassinated. And even in 2022, we still fight for sanitation workers. So to me, the issues that Dr. King stood for are sometimes no different than what we stand for today. It's just because of his labor that our journey is a little bit easier. And then our journey must allow the next generation to have an even easier journey. And so to me, it's like Dr. King should be celebrated every day. He is someone who wasn't even a president, but yet there are national monuments in his name in DC, in Georgia, and all other places. And that's just because of the man that he was. And so we stand on his shoulders as leaders in our own capacities, because it is our time to shine. And I'm so grateful that Chairman Bailey talked about, the movement of women and seeing women step into roles that were never designed for us. But we're really showing the world what women can do. When you give us a chance, when you give us an opportunity, open a door for us, we will show you what we're all about.
Wow, that's why I try my best not to talk after speakers like you, Tish James,
She's good.
our DA. I
She's
would
good.
never go anywhere and they ask me to speak, and this is the panel. I'll say, can I say hello first? And then I'll be quiet. We are going to hear from our Bronx District Attorney, the Honorable Darcy Clark. Darcy, before you start talking, I don't know, there's something lately that I sit at home and watch you and our Bronx board president, and I say, what's going on with women today? You're all just shining, you're all glowing. The hairs are popping. I'm so accustomed to your hairstyle that everyone accustomed to, and you just switch on us. But you look beautiful, I must admit, and everybody's just looking younger as the years go in. So can we hear from you? How far have we come, our journey since you've been the DA and continue to lead and be our DA? And as we hear from Mr. Hall, I call him Gull, Shabir Gull, who is part of the, what I say, Muslim community. Correct me if I'm wrong. He said, thank you for the great work that you all are doing for the fire's victims.
Mm-hmm. So thank you, Avril. Always a pleasure to be here with you. And of course, my friend and mentor, Hugh Campbell, who we've gone, ever since I came back into this community as a lawyer. Hugh has been the one that has been the mentor for so many of us, not only a mentor, but a partner. And he just gets the work done. That's why he's the people's lawyer. That's why the DA represent the people of the state of New York. Hugh Campbell represent everybody in the Bronx. Okay. Everybody. He's a community lawyer. And I thank God for him. Senator Bailey, I've watched him, come up. I swore him in when he became a lawyer at the first department. So proud of him. So proud that he is our chairman of the Democratic Party, because, one of the things that Dr. King talked about is, fairness and equity. And I know through Senator Bailey's leadership, we've seen that not only here in the Democratic Party in the Bronx, but in the state Senate. It is because of a Senator Bailey. It's because of our Assembly Speaker Carl Hasty, both of whom are my senator and my assembly person. So I get to brag about that all the time. But it wasn't until we got the majority in the legislature that we saw real reform in the criminal justice system here in New York. And we had the real criminal justice reform that many of my colleagues, there's 62 DAs throughout this state, many of them fought that reform tooth and nail. I tried to warn them. It's like, you got to stop saying no to everything. This is needed. If you lived in a community like I do, a black and brown community, if you grew up in public housing like I did, if you went to New York City public schools like I did, if you were a judge like I was for 16 years in this city and this state, that reform is necessary. And they fought it. And thank God that the Senate and the Assembly were able to put those reforms through. So I thank Senator Bailey for his service. He don't always get credit for it. He should, because it was needed. And that's how I see how far we've come, because we've been able to make those changes, that were needed. I'm the DA, and people are like, yeah, well, your job is to make sure that people get locked up, blah, 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 public safety. My job is a lot of things now. DAs used to be known only to, have people arrested, try them, throw them in jail or prison, and throw away the key. That's not who we are anymore. And that's never necessarily been who I am, because I live in this community. You know what? When people in the Bronx say they heard gunshots, guess who else hears them? I hear them, because I live here with them. I worship in the same churches, go to the same gas stations, supermarkets. I have walked among my neighbors all the time. And that's why it's important that we have partners like a Hugh Campbell and the Dr. Lowe in the community, talking about our health, and Mr. Williams and his business. We have to do this work together. So, and of course, my borough president, of course, we have been walking together for so long. I got to say, I'm so happy now that all of that election stuff is over, because, as DA, I'm not allowed to endorse people or, say things. But now I can say I am so proud of my sister, Vanessa Gibson. She works so hard. Avril, you're exactly right. I work hard, but she works hard. I think she worked harder because, well, I think it's both of us, because we're texting in the middle of the night. We're still up. We're doing things, but it's so important. It's in our hearts. And you have to be able to be committed to that. To see Vanessa in these just 2 weeks dealing with that fire, and she's done those things before within her district, but the leadership now is just so different now with all the experience that she brings to Borough Hall now. We are going to be so much better as a Bronx because of her. And so when we look at Dr. King, and I think about him, and he's made many speeches, as has been mentioned. But one of them, he said, how would you want to be remembered? He said, tell them that I was a drum major for justice. Tell them I was a drum major for peace. And I hope that is what I am emulating as your district attorney. I want to be a drum major for justice, and I want to be a drum major for peace. And you know what that means in simple terms for the Bronx now? That we can have safety and fairness, that we can have safety and reform at the same time. They are not mutually exclusive. So as a DA, I'm going to be unapologetic about wanting to stand up for the survivors and the victims of crimes. When we see a Eve Hendricks who lost her son, Brandon, in 2020 to gun violence, and so many other mothers and fathers that are dealing with that, I want to make sure that I get justice for them in our courtrooms. But at the same time, I'm also unapologetic for believing in the reforms that needed to happen, that we have to give people second chances, that we need to make sure that we put the resources in our community so that people that suffer from mental health, mental illness, and substance use disorder, and most importantly, poverty. That is the one thing that Dr. King worked for his whole life. All 39 years he worked to better the economic situation for people in our community. And poverty is the number one driver of the criminal justice system. And I recognize that. So until we do more to bring resources to deal with poverty, the homelessness, the poor education system, the health care system, the lack of jobs. You talked about Dr. King the night before. He was there in Memphis working with the striking sanitation workers for better job security for them. Until we put more resources to do that, those are the things that prevent crime. Those are the things that keep me from having to deal with people coming into the criminal justice system. And most importantly, our young people. I want to talk to them face to face. Avril, you have me on the show. We've talked about this. I'm talking directly to gang members, anybody who would talk to me, because I want to save their lives. I don't want to prosecute them, but I will if they don't use the resources that we put out there for them to have alternatives to violence. So we have a lot of work to do. All the community. This is everybody's job, not just the DA's job. I should be the last resort. You shouldn't have to worry about the police and the DA taking care of all the social ills in our community. It's all of our job to make sure that we do that. And with the partners here on this show tonight, I am hopeful that we can get that done. So I stand on the shoulders of that drum major of justice and drum major for peace, because we can have safety and reform and fairness at the same time. And I'm working every day to make that happen.
Senator Bailey, when I hear reform, I always think of you. Do I put too much pressure on you? Every time I hear reform, I say, that's Senator Bailey. I throw everything at Senator Bailey and say, well, you have a tough job. And when you say your age, you make Albert say his age. So to be your age and have such a shoe to wear, it's a big shoe that you're wearing. So, but you know, we need young people in office. We've been saying that all these years. So now that we have you with the experience, the knowledge, and doing what you're doing, we really appreciate you. How do you feel to be in that position when everybody said we need new laws, we need laws to pass? Because I heard the DA spoke with the fire victims, and one of the questions I said, what is going to be put in place to make sure we don't have this happening again?
Well, one, so I give credit to my colleagues in government who are working tirelessly with that. Congressmember Richie Torres, Councilmember Oswald Feliz, Councilmember Perina Sanchez, and Assemblymember Udelka Tapi in that area. They're working tirelessly. Senator Rivera, Senator Sepulveda, they're working incredibly hard along with these amazing women that you've heard from in terms of, you know, as policymakers, right? Our jobs are to see things that could be deficiencies in the law and try to create things for the better, right? And whether those things are creating laws or making sure that the enforcement of the laws are more heavily or more frequently enforced, and that if you violate certain things, that it disincentivizes bad actors from doing so. So these are the things that we have to look at in the law. And our DA made an excellent point about the conversation that we can walk and chew gum at the same time, right? The problem with one of the bigger problems in our society with any sort of political discourse is that it seems to be this my way or the highway thing. It is I am right and you are wrong, and that is simply not the way to live. I don't do that to my 7-year-old and my 5-year-old. Right? There's no such thing as absolutism in my house. Absolutism in this world does not work, except if it's the New York Knicks. I'm absolutely always going to ride for the New York Knicks above all. That's my team. But aside from the New York Knicks, everything else is, you know, it's kind of negotiable, right? And the problem is that we have to have more conversation. So when the DA talks about other of her colleagues were not necessarily as reform minded, you know, like, sometimes it's background, sometimes it's nature, sometimes it's nurture. But Darcel Clark was one of the people who undoubtedly came to the table with her life experiences, her prosecutorial experience, her judicial experience, and came to the table with solutions as opposed to just saying no, right? And that's one of the things that we have to make sure that we do in our society, not just as elected officials, but as constituents. The constituents, it's even more important for you to do that, for you to carefully weigh the information that you're given. Don't just read headlines. You got to read the full story, because the headlines will lead you in a direction, and the words in the body of the story have nothing to do with it. And so, like, we have to be able to say, you know what, this reform was critically important, right? But I got a wife and two daughters, and I want safe streets just like everybody else. So there's no, and that's not talking out of both sides of your mouth. That is being a human being. No one is exactly the same at the same time. I'll talk about the Knicks ad nauseum, as you've heard me mention for the second time, but the floor of this New York State Senate may not be the most appropriate place for it when I'm debating a bill. There's a time and a place for everything. And as far as whether it's too much, I'm blessed. Like, I am incredibly blessed to be in a position to have been mentored by a Hugh Campbell, who brought me in after I graduated from law school, to be in a position where I can be sworn in by Darcel Clark, so I can be a colleague in government with the Vanessa Gibson, so I can work with an Albert Williams in the community, The reality is, my friends, if you think you got here by yourself, you're wrong. That's another absolutism. You're wrong because you didn't get here by yourself. Whoever you are, whoever's listening, wherever you're from, you didn't do it by yourself. You just didn't. This cup right here, right? This cup that I have, this cup is very important, right? You can't just clean the top of the cup that you just drink from. You got to clean the handles. You got to clean the side. You got to clean the whole thing. You have to clean everything. Every part of that cup is important to clean, right? Our entire community is important to make sure, from the merchant, the attorney, the doctor, the lawyer, the essential worker, the pastor, the radio host, the elected official, we all have a role to play. And the reality is, my friends, no role is bigger than the other. And that's just the bottom line. We all have equal parts in this pizza pie of life, so to speak. I might be a little hungry. I'm talking about food a lot, right, Avril?
Yeah, but I think
be
don't talk about food around me, because then I'm going to start saying I'm hungry and it's all I'm going to blame you for that.
No.
But I'm going to make sure that whatever you have to say, even if you have to leave, you know, you can still leave. And as Janice Martin say, takes a village. Yes, we the village will continue. I'm not going to keep the DA around long, but I just had to show the faces that helped me to understand that Martin Luther King dream lives on in just the faces that I'm seeing here. He paved the way, and we continue his legacy when we look at a Bronx Bowl president that many probably never thought would have happened. You know, I at one time, I don't know, I get so much chewed up. I have to call Hugh many times to bail me out. But I stand on the ground that if I stand with you, I stand with you all the way to the end. And that's how I've been doing it. So I am proud to say that I know that I get many hits, but I am proud that the people that I stand with is sitting here tonight, and it's going to continue. The change has come.
I just wanted to make sure that I mentioned one legendary gentleman we lost over this weekend, former Westchester County Chair and former in Mount Vernon County Chair, Reginald Lafayette. Reggie was a Mount Vernonite through and through. He, you know, if you talk about following in legacies and paving the way, Reggie did so much to make sure young Black folks like myself and young brown folks were able to enter government. And he did so at a time where it wasn't necessarily politically convenient. And he, you know, he was very he was a one of a kind guy, man. And we're gonna miss Reggie. I just wanted to make sure I showed love to the Lafayette family and to the city of Mount Vernon. It's a major loss. I wouldn't have felt right without you know, just showing him his respects and just you know, doing that, Avril. And thank you for the indulgence on that. I apologize for butting in.
No, that's okay, because I'm glad you did it. And for those who are listening, he was part of the Democratic, because someone might say, who is the senator speaking about? So just to let them know, because it was, I mean, it's not something you could explain. He's dead, but it's for the way it happened. You know, people ask question who, and I know Geoff is back, so I don't know. He's also representing Mount Vernon. So thank you so much, Senator Jamaal Bailey, for making sure that that was said tonight. So, Honorable Bronx Bowl President, as I said, I'm not going to keep you around, but I feel good to look at this panel tonight and just see your face, not just here as Vanessa Gibson, because lately now when I speak, Senator Bailey always say, it's okay to just say Jamaal sometime, but I can't get there because of the way I was taught and raised. You have to put some respect to who the person is that you're speaking to. So sorry, Senator, I have to say Senator, and I want the people to get accustomed to saying our Bronx Bowl President and not, oh, Vanessa, because we want to feel that, oh, she's my friend and I know her personally. It's called respect. You are the Bronx Bowl President. You have to put some respect to the name. And our Bronx District Attorney, yes, when I saw her anywhere, I have to say that's our DA. You know, and for those who don't know what DA mean, it means district attorney. Yes, we have to put some respect there. We come a long way. You see the faces here. Who can tell me the dream does not live on. Geoff Monroe, are you with us? Are you back?
I'm present. How do you hear me?
We can hear you now, and Senator Jamaal Bailey just speak about someone out of your community in Mount Vernon. So we're happy to have you here. And since the panel, some has to run and it's nearly an hour, we would like you to introduce yourself so that everyone can hear, because our DA today take the opportunity to be here with a little headache. So, talking can really throw off a headache. So we're not going to keep our DA around because we need her.
Yeah, I got work to do tomorrow, but it's always a pleasure. Avril, when you ask me, I got to do it no matter what. I'll push through the pain in order to help, because I know your leadership and just your voice and you giving us a platform to get our voices heard. Because, a lot of times, we could say a lot of things as elected officials, as community leaders or residents, but they don't always print it, or they take things out of context. So it's good to always have that source that you could go to that's going to let us tell it straight, where I could speak in my authentic voice to my community so that they understand what I'm saying and they'll know where I'm coming from. So I thank you for giving us this platform to be able to do that. And I'm always meeting, new people each and every time. I know I've run, into, Dr. Lowe and Mr. Williams, of course I know. And Geoff, I don't know you well, but I will now because you've been on the Avril show with me. So this is why, we do this. This networking, means a lot. And Avril, thank you so much. I am going to sign off because I do have a migraine. So having a light and everything else, I need to shut everything down since I had 5 events today. But thank you for giving me the opportunity.
And thank you. And Geoff, I'm glad that you was able to come back and meet the DA before she leaves, even though I know you're aware of the DA, and I will let you introduce yourself, even though she have to leave. Go right ahead, Geoff. Thank you so much, Darcel, for, and our Bronx District Attorney for not saying no to the call and to come here, not just for myself, but for the people to connect. There was a time people used to say, oh, the politicians only come on when they need a vote. But we also see that have changed over the years. You all become a family to the community. You're here. I heard the Senator Jamaal Bailey is going down to the islands of Nevis to meet with the premier because he invite the senator down. But he got to know now that we have a Bronx for president and everybody needs a retreat eventually. So the senator cannot go without anyone. So he better put that retreat together because the premier down there say, oh, when the senator come, he's going to give him all the mangoes and all the fruits and everything. So Premier Mark Brantley, thank you so much. But go right ahead, Geoff, and introduce yourself so the DA could hear a little before she leaves.
Just stick around, DA Clark, after he's finished.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to thank you for your patience, and I want to thank DA Clark actually for sticking through the discomfort and the pain of being online as much as these Zoom calls and technological adjustments. They're very counterintuitive, and I know because as an audio video technician, troubleshooting is usually the low point of any event, and as you can see, I've tried to persist through this one, and I'm glad we're successful enough to have me on. So I haven't had the pleasure of an introduction to our DA Clark or really anyone here, but it's my honor to be here, and I want to thank you, Sister Avril, for having me on. By way of introduction, so I'm Geoff Munroe. I'm a resident of Mount Vernon. I've been a resident here for the better part of 30 years. And most of the time I've been in New York. In that 30 years, I've been an organizer, what they call an activist, community organizer, whatever the euphemisms are. But I come in the tradition of people like Dr. King, people like, Malcolm X and the UNIA, and the work that's been done by Pan-Africanists, Marcus Garvey, and others since him and before him. I really stand on the shoulders of people who have made America, while not less colonial place, at least a more livable place for those of us who America has used as its foundation. So my pleasure to come on the show today is to really break down, I guess, my own particular appreciation, not just for Dr. King and his work, the work of his comrades and his predecessors and his antecedents and his his family as well, but an appreciation for King the internationalist, right? King the socialist, King the anti-war and anti-capitalist, a man who really literally died for the things that that we still fight against today, and really most of my motivating force as an organizer is to keep in mind that not just as African people, which I obviously am. I'm an African born in Jamaica, I like to say, but my experience as a Mount Vernonite has been to help me appreciate the diversity of our people globally. Certainly in the Bronx, certainly in Mount Vernon.
But Geoff, I'm not going to cut you because
Yes.
I want the DA to go and get some rest.
Okay.
Because I know what it is to be a migraine. But I want you to just tell her who you are and what you do, you know, your work or what you represent, and then we'll go into the Martin Luther King Drive.
Oh,
But
okay.
I would like her to go and get some rest so tomorrow when she's called, she don't have a second migraine.
Yeah. Well, I guess in summary, I'm, you know, by day I'm an audio video production technician. I'm a family man. By night I'm a freedom fighter. So I don't know how else to say what else to appreciate about me more than just that I'm here to do the work of the people, as she is, and our elected honorables are here too as well. My heroes are teachers and freedom fighters. I'm an organizer in Mount Vernon, working. In fact, I've met Ms. Avril, Sister Avril, in some work to build a coalition here in Mount Vernon, and hopefully I'll cross paths again with D.A. Clark and others here. I'm not sure how else you'd like me to. I guess I could go deeper into some of my kind of strategic outlook as an organizer, but we can wait for that if you like. I don't know if you like more, Sister Avril.
No, I like to hide some of the things I do, you know, because certain things you don't want to speak about, because now that you tell them I'm in Mount Vernon now, I didn't want to say much, but yes, I do some work with Geoff behind the scene, with the work that he's doing in Mount Vernon, and Honorable Darcy Clark, we're definitely going to excuse you. I want you to get your rest. I thank you
before
for.
D.A. Clark leaves.
I'm going to come to you. I just want to thank you so
before she
much.
leaves.
Yeah, I just want to thank you so much, because the fact that the people are not just going to see you because you need a vote. You are the people, DA now. and that has changed many years. The Bronxville president have been into the radio station with me. Senator Jamaal Bailey is not a it's no stranger. So no one can say either one of you are on the Avril show because you need a vote, because Avril votes are your votes. So my votes are your votes. So when I say vote for Avril, you got to vote for the people that Avril is voting for. So my vote is your votes. So you're no stranger. Go ahead, Honorable Hugh Campbell.
No, I just wanted to say before D.A. Clark leaves, because since we are celebrating Dr. King's birthday, I think one of the things that I'm looking at the screen, and I see D.A. Clark, I see Senator Bailey, both accomplished attorneys, and I think back at the fact that myself and both of them stand on the shoulders of Dr. Lowe, who is here, Dr. Lowe's mother, because Dr. Lowe's mother was an attorney, was a Supreme Court justice and a federal court judge, and that goes back many years ago. And I will say that, you know, it just shows you that Dr. King's dream is still alive, because we are still carrying out the goals and objective of Dr. King by working together. And even in the shadow of Dr. Lowe's mother, we're still carrying on those work today. So I think it's very important that we have this discussion. And I think it's only, you know, apropos that all four of us are in the same space, you know, and even paying tribute to Mary Johnson Lowe, who was she worked for Burt Roberts. She worked in the DA's office, and you know, she was a federal judge. And I just want to say, I'm sure Dr. Lowe is going to talk much about it, but I just
I didn't even know that connection. But you know, I never met Judge Lowe, but I knew a whole lot about her. I didn't have to meet her in order to know about her. So, Dr. Lowe, it's really an honor to be in this space with you as well. Not even knowing that connection, but knowing that you've contributed so much to the Bronx already. So the fruit doesn't fall far from the tree, I guess.
That's the point. That's the
point. And also, I just wanted to, since you're leaving, I just want to say to Jamaal Bailey, because again, everything is connected. I just want to say congratulations on, you know, the confirmation of the judge to the Court of Appeals. That was definitely, for those of you who don't know, we have the actually one African American, but she's the second woman African American to be confirmed to the New York State Court of Appeals, and that was done this past week. And Senator Bailey was very much instrumental in the Senate committee, and we're very proud to see you at work, Senator Bailey. And we just want to say, keep up the good work, because you make the Bronx proud. And I do echo what you said about Reggie Lafayette. That was a great loss. He was a great person. And we just want to say, you know, to Mount Vernon and the family, condolences.
Yeah.
Hugh, if I may, my cousin was the first Black woman on the Court of Appeals. Sheila Abdul Salam.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Well, Sheila swore me in when I became DA. Sheila was a colleague of mine in the Appellate Division First Department. Of course, we were judges together in the Supreme Court as well. We were at the Appellate Division. She was a mentor to me when she was at the court. And when it came time for me to be sworn in as the first woman DA in the Bronx and the first African-American woman elected DA in the whole state of New York, who better to swear me in than the first African-American woman to sit on our highest court, the Court of Appeals. As a matter of fact, this past January, this weekend was my 6th anniversary. So many people sent me pictures, and there was Sheila in there. So God rest her soul. Wow. I tell you, things are so connected. You never know until you sit and talk to people. Amazing.
If I may, you know, so on the Court of Appeals, she served with one of my law school professor, Jenny Rivera. I met my wife in Jenny's class. Jenny always says I got a lot more out of law school because of her. And she's right, 100% right. But it just shows that the connection, the notion of 6 degrees of separation is much less than that in the community, especially the Black legal community. And it was one of the things that when we were speaking about the confirmation of Judge Shirley Troutman, it's interesting if you go from an appellate court justice to a judge of the Court of Appeals. Just interesting nomenclature in our state. But in any event, the fact that she was able to be confirmed in 2022, we're still having firsts and seconds, y'all. Yes. Right? Like just like in history, right? We're still having firsts and seconds in our state, in our city, in the history of these things, right?
As long as we don't have lasts.
That's true.
Okay.
That's true. And so it's just an interesting moment that you mentioned that. And I never had the pleasure of meeting Judge Abdul Salam, but you know, she was a legendary jurist, and also one of those folks that you know who she is without meeting her. You follow her career, you read her decisions. You know, you as a student of the law, you pay attention to what's happening. So, yep. Very interesting. The connections that are weaved in. Very interesting.
Right, intersectionality, I guess they call it, because we are just crossing all over the place here. It's great.
You see, if I add one thing, when my former partner Rodman came to New York, Mary Johnson Lowe was the person. She went to Brooklyn Law School. She actually gave him his first apartment to live in. So it just shows you the connection.
Al lived with us until he graduated and got himself set up. And my sister, who my late sister, who was also an attorney, used to say Al's gonna be her husband.
Yes, yes.
So now, Dr. Lowe, where'd you go wrong? All those lawyers there, and here you. What happened?
Well, my dad was a lawyer. His partner was Basil Patterson. In fact, part of the reason I got into medical school was because of Basil, and I was one of his Albany interns. But to answer your question, Ms. Clark, basically, as I told my parents, one of us had to do something socially useful.
Oh God!
Well, oh boy, it feels like a family, as Miss Young said. Teamwork shows in the Bronx. It's awesome. It's really a teamwork here, and it's a family tonight.
All connected.
Yes, connected. And I don't say politician. I don't call my elected official politicians. Politicians is in a different class. These are our elected officials. So we have our Bronx Borough president here tonight sitting in, and I don't know how you all do it. I keep saying it because when I see the news, I said, why tonight? It's so cold. They got to be out there, you know. And I know it's the job that you chose to do, but I don't know. I guess my age now, I can't run for politics, so that's out the picture.
Never too late.
It's never too late. But you know what it is? I always say you must know your calling.
Mm-hmm. No, that's true.
You must know your calling. You got to operate in your calling. I can't see myself being a senator. I cannot see myself being the Bronx Borough president. I don't know. I don't know what it is to do that because I just don't feel it's in my calling. So,
but you're right about calling because it's about. That's the problem with people. They don't have enough self-awareness. Like just because you can run for something don't mean you should be the one running for it. You know what I mean? So, you know, you're absolutely right. But you know your calling and you're doing it well, Avril. Don't change.
Thank you so much. Not because I help you give out a couple of boxes of food. Then the next election, I'm saying I'm going to run against the Bronx Borough president because I gave out some food. And what did you do? And can you be the Bronx Borough president? Oh, yeah, I gave out food. So Pastor Calendar, thank you for tuning in and send his love. And he's here watching us and not a stranger to the Bronx. So keep praying for our elected officials. They need it. And Senator Bailey, at any time, anyone have to leave, feel free. We're going to continue to talk because I learned so much. Because we heard Dr. Lowe, and I just thought, you know, as a doctor, but we don't know behind what this doctor know and all the people and the connection. And we have Albert William here from Best Deal Car Service. I don't know how he do it. Albert is a man, as I text him, he respond. As I email, he respond. If I want something done, he says, send it to me in an email now. I want to get it done. Just such a business savvy, scare me sometimes. So sometimes when people don't see me, I say, I'm trying to do what Albert taught me to do. And I thank you, Albert, because you taught me how to be humble. So, Dr. Lowe, what else do you have to share? Anytime the DA have to leave or Senator Bailey have to leave, we'll understand. But what can you share? As she wave her hand, you know, we know she's leaving out, but she can still hear the show.
Well, she's a neighbor. See, she's a block away from where my grandparents lived.
So you know how to find the DA.
I know where she lives. Yeah, but I also want to let her know that I grew up in the Bronx County Courthouse. Okay, you know, when my mother couldn't get childcare, I'd sit on the bench with the judges and watch her argue her cases.
Yeah.
Her best friend was the chief clerk of the DA's office, Miss Jackie Lucky.
Oh yes, yes indeed.
Okay, and you know, I'm as at home in that old building as I am anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
My mother and her family moved to the Bronx from Harlem. She grew up on 123rd Street, right next door to the I think it was the 23rd precinct.
Mm-hmm.
And she said she used to hear every Friday and Saturday night the cops whipping up on the folks. That's what made her want to be a lawyer. She She spent 18 years as a criminal defense attorney. That was her specialty. And at the time, there were only three women, not black women, three women practicing criminal law in the first judicial department. That was my mother, Natalie Steinbach, and Hermina Perlmutter. And they were known as the Three Witches. So some of the more interesting things are my mother. When my mom was a Supreme Court judge, she started the narcotics part down in Manhattan. She tried Abby Hoffman, and he absconded. And several years later, when he was caught, she said, "Mr. Hoffman, it's so good to see you after all these years." And she gave him another 20 years to serve. One of our neighbors here on City Island, we were the first black family to own a home on City Island. Wow. Had to have police protection in the driveway. At the time, my mother was a Supreme Court judge. And my dad was on the City Planning Commission. When she became a federal judge, she ended up trying one of our neighbors around the corner, Fat Turney Salerno. And when he was convicted, she gave him, I think it was 70 years on all his counts. And he had a stage whisper to his lawyer, "The judge must be crazy. I'll never live that long." And she dropped her glasses. "That's the idea, Mr. Salerno." Okay. I do want to share with you that my mother's alma mater, Brooklyn Law School, is initiating a scholarship in her honor for students who wouldn't otherwise become lawyers. And it's of interest to know that my mom, when she decided to try to go to law school, she graduated from Hunter College. She got married. She had 2 children, myself and my older sister. She went to the dean at Brooklyn Law School and said, "I have 2 children, a mortgage, and no money, and I want to be a lawyer." And Dean Prince gave her a full scholarship for first year. And that's the heritage that Brooklyn Law School is trying to promote and reestablish with this new scholarship. So anybody who's interested, they should look at Brooklyn Law. I want to highlight one of the gems that's not so well known here in the Bronx in terms of higher education. Where I worked, I was the medical director at SUNY Maritime College. I don't know if any of you are aware of it. It's that big white boat underneath the Throg's Neck Bridge down at Fort Schuyler. When you graduate with a license, unlimited tonnage, open oceans, or you can become a marine engineer. My mother's brother graduated during the war, the Second World War, from Maritime College and served in the Merchant Marine. You have a Merchant Marine license. One of my former students, when I was the director there, she's now a physician in Honolulu, but she's also a marine engineer.
Dr. Lowe, I don't want to cut you, but we're going to listen to you. But DA, would you like to go and get some rest? We would like to excuse you.
We'll
Thank
talk.
you.
And
Dr. Lowe,
I will make sure
we'll
Dr.
catch
Lowe
up at
gets.
another time, Dr. Lowe.
Okay.
We don't have to do it on the Avril show.
That's
Call,
right.
call Hugh.
Okay. All right. We'll meet at Hugh's office. All right. Take care.
you.
Good night, everybody. God bless.
Thank you so much, DA.
Avril, I think I'm gonna jump on
Yes, you're hungry,
Yeah.
and we're not
no,
going to
I'm not
have the
hungry.
show.
I gotta drive to Albany. We have session. We're convening codes committee agenda tomorrow. I have some bills on the agenda that I have to make sure I look over prior to doing the agenda. And we have a full week of session in Albany. The legislative session is back. We are in Albany, even though the attendance is hybrid. We go up. Sometimes I'm the presiding officer, which means I'm on top of the day. And so I have to be there. So I gotta head on up.
We have to. We understand, and we don't want to hear the laws wasn't passed because you was on the Avril show. So I want to excuse you so you could have time with your family also before you say good night and go to bed.
Well, if my kids are up, there's a bigger problem than the
that's
law.
right.
Like if it's 10-16 and my kids are up, we got bigger problems.
Bigger problems. So
also, I want to say
of you.
One more thing. We do have COVID testing in front of my office Monday through Friday via Somos Care from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. in front of my office at 959 East 233rd Street. It's a PCR test. It's not rapid, but if you need a test, I just wanted to make sure that is available to the community. You just want to make sure that folks were able to hear it. If you need a test, if it's out there. Avril, thank you so much for allowing us the space to be able to speak and catch up and pull on the strands of the degrees of separation that we have, and to all of my colleagues in government and co-panelists and community leaders, and just thank you for also loving Dr. King and looking to live through him as well. Great night, everybody.
Thank you so much, Senator. 959 East 233rd. If you need a test, PCR test, and we have our Bronx Borough president here also who has to probably sleep, I don't know how many hours, but we need to ask. Yes, that's right. We need to have them pass a law to extend some more hours so you could get some more sleep. So we thank you for taking the time to be here with Albert Williams, Geoff Munroe. The doctor is still here. Hugh Campbell is still here. We'll continue. But we just want to tell you, thank you for what you're doing. And thank you for what you're about to do, where God is leading you. And we appreciate everyone who took the time to cast a vote to say we deserve tonight. Because without those votes, we wouldn't be here talking about the dream and how far we have come. This is a legacy to celebrate. Yes. And I thank you. Thank you so much. Sleep well. Take care of your health first so that you can do your work second.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. It's good to see you all. The dream lives on. We are the dream. It is yet to be fulfilled. A lot of work that we have to do around equity, mass incarceration, public safety, creating good jobs, safe spaces for young people, education, healthcare, everything. And that's, what we're going to do in carrying out our blueprint. It's just, it got a little bit delayed just because of the fire, but we have to respond, and we are, and we will. There's a lot of things happening on the ground, but we will ultimately take care of everyone at Twin Parks Northwest. And then we have to take care of the entire Bronx, because I am definitely cognizant and recognizing there are a lot of families in our borough that have to go to bed at night in a cold apartment, forced to use a space heater that sometimes is faulty, of no fault of their own, but they have to do what is necessary to survive and keep their children safe and warm. And everyone deserves that. It's a basic human right. That's what Dr. King fought for. He fought for racial equality and affordable, safe housing, and we still fight for that today. So again, the dream lives on. We are the dream, and let's continue to do work together in honor of Dr. King. Thanks, everyone. Blessings.
Thank you so much. That's our Bronx Borough President, Honorable Vanessa Gibson. Thank you so much. We're still here. We're going to continue with the dream. Cuthbert Dickerson in Florida. Thank you so much for that. Gloria Ben, thank you so much. And before we continue, Geoff, thank you for still being here. But without these folks that are here with me tonight, I could not in any way have done it without the the Best Deal Car Service, the McCall's Bronxwood Funeral Home, the Teddy Nissan, and attorney Hugh Campbell, who is not just a mentor, but a co-host.
This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. Come what may, I won't be afraid. In this day that the Lord has made, I'll fear not the pestilence that crawl by night. Those who work evil in broad daylight ain't atomic or nuclear weaponry designed to wipe out humanity or biological pathogens, preventing your lungs from getting oxygen. Still, I am not afraid in this day that the Lord has made.
Thank you so much. Without, as you can see, the businesses that are here tonight, as I said, without them, it was impossible for me to do anything in the community. We're here, Geoff Monroe. I am so honored to introduce you to Albert Williams of Best Deal Car Service. Don't know if it's the first time meeting. And you're here with Dr. Ed Lowe, who seems to know as much as a man of 200 years. And listening to him, it sounds like Hugh Campbell is older than I think. Listening to Dr. Lowe, we don't know the age. I mean, Senator Jamaal Bailey and Albert Williams was so happy to say I'm 46 and I'm 39, you know, the young age. But it seems like, I don't know, Dr. Lowe, you're a man, you take the DA back to some years. And to be here with Albert Williams, I was telling him he got to drive the Bronx Borough president to the city and to the Bronx. But it seems to me you're the man that needs the drive.
Well, of one of your sponsors, McCall's Funeral Home.
Yes, McCall's.
My mother was the lawyer who incorporated them, the original McCall's, when they were down on Prospect Avenue, where they started.
Wow, small world. You see what we're talking about? You never know who, Geoff. In a time like this, we got to pay attention. Now you know the young man from the Bronx, Mr. Albert Williams from Best Deal Car Service. So when you need to go anywhere and you have a hard time, you just call up Albert and take it from me. He's going to make sure that the hands are even sanitized. You know, and the car seats are sanitized. So I don't know how he do it. And I sometimes ask him, do you sleep? You know, but this is the work of the Bronx and the people that are doing it now and making it happen. So what do you have to say, Mr. Lowe, to a man like Albert Williams? So you know.
Look, my grandfather used to put it very simply, 4 wheels beats 2 heels. All right. And I followed his advice. I ride with my car with no one in the front seat who was not invited. In other words, he paid cash for his cars, I pay cash for mine. And all you got to do is take care of it. Put oil in the engine at frequent intervals, and don't let anything get out of hand. Because little problems can become big problems if you ignore them.
Albert?
I think that statement is more than you're referring to life, not cars.
Both.
Right? I'm smart enough to know that cars is a metaphor. Yeah, I'm smart enough to realize that you're referring to life, not cars.
Oh, okay.
Your health, you know.
Okay, Albert, you pick it up.
Yeah,
I was late. I was late.
Yeah, no, but that's what it's all about. That's what King's Dream was about, right? You pick it up in different metaphors. You could use a metaphor. I don't know any metaphor that doesn't apply to what King says, right? And to our the listeners and the rest of the panel, from King's I've been to the mountain speech, right? It's a part where we have to be true. Our leaders have to be true to what we put on paper, right? Our politicians, our elected officials, our civic leaders, our business leaders, our attorneys, our our friends, our family. We have to be true to what we put on paper. And that's something that, that's a metaphor that we should take into consideration and think about for the next couple of days as you watch and you watch the world in which we live and evolve, right? So we put it on paper, we got to be true to it. But a dream is not a dream can't be real until it's written down. An idea, it's not it's just an idea until it's on paper. When it's on paper, you start a dream, right? And we just got to be true to what we put on paper, to take using the words of Dr. King. Geoff?
If you can dream and not let dreams become your master, that's the key. You've got to act on them. In my life, I've had 4 opportunities to encounter Dr. King, 3 of which were at my church. I'm a member of the Riverside Church, and I was there each time he preached. When he preached his Beyond Vietnam, and two earlier sermons. But I was at the March on Washington in '63. The night before that march, I was part of the youth group. We were preparing box lunches to take for the marchers, or to give to the marchers. And my mom got me a ticket with my uncle. Hugh knows my uncle, recently deceased, to ride down to DC with the Guardians. The Guardians are the Black police officers at NYPD, and they were marshals for the march. So I was there to hear the I Have a Dream speech in person.
Wow. Could you imagine sitting here with someone who says, I was there to hear the I Had a Dream speech? Now, when I was born, I didn't know anything about it until until we start going to school and studying these things. But you were there, and you're still here today to talk about it. And you said 1963?
Yes, ma'am. August 28th, 1963.
So, Albert, you wasn't around then?
No, ma'am.
I doubt if any of you were around
then. Geoff, I don't think you was around then. Were you?
That was 7 years prior to my existence.
Yeah, I was 14 at the time. Yeah, you got something.
Dr. Hugh Campbell, you're muted, it seems. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say one thing, and I think when we look at Dr. Lowe's history in terms of giving back and engagement and Dr. King's dream, one of the things I will say, because he probably will not say it, but as much as we've been impacted by COVID, one of the things that Dr. Lowe was doing last year was he was actually very much in the parks in New York City, encouraging folks to get COVID testing and COVID vaccines because of his medical profession. So I think he is still on the ground, doing work in our community, which is very, very critical and very important. And I think when we celebrate Dr. King, it just shows that, we all cannot stop working and dreaming and delivering.
Listen, Albert, I always say I'm tired, and maybe I got to get in the gym, because if you say last year Dr. Lowe was down in the park encouraging people and doing all this work, and I'm sitting here saying I'm tired, I got to get in the gym.
I wasn't just encouraging them; I was doing the testing.
You were doing the testing.
Right.
Well, I'm telling you, man, Albert, you gotta find out more about Dr. Lowe and what he's eating and what he's doing, so we can one day say back in 2022. So people say 2022, you was around then? Because to hear you say 1963, you was doing this and you heard Martin Luther King's speech. We are only hearing the speech and reading about it. You were there.
Yeah, well, I was there in '69 when we took over City College and turned it into Harlem U. and brought open enrollment to the city university with the 5 demands.
I'm telling you, well, tonight's show was all about leadership and how far we have come. And we came after you, Dr. Lowe. We continue to walk in your shoe.
Well, I walked in the shoes of giants, and I try to fit.
Geoff, I know you're doing a lot in Mount Vernon, and I'm telling you, we got to learn from some of these great leaders, and don't know if we'll ever walk in their shoe. I know tonight, if it wasn't for this show, Albert will be home sleeping, getting his rest. I think I'm going to pay a price for keeping everyone up late tonight, but it was worth it. It was worth the dream.
I'm a night owl, so it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Albert will forgive me because, we learn a lot tonight.
As my father said, if you sleep 8 hours a day, you've slept 1/3 of your life away by the time you hit your grave. You got forever to sleep. Okay?
I figured that one out.
But make your hay while your sun shines. And as that old spiritual says, I ain't no ways tired.
Yeah.
Okay.
Come too far. Mm-hmm.
Okay, but we've still got much farther to go.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to remember, it's the same old song, but just a different set, meaning, because we'll be gone. Okay. Every generation is going to be fighting, the same fight. The price of freedom is eternal vigilance. And we have to be on guard and be ready to stand up and fight for what's right. And it's going to be, I'm handing it off to my granddaughter in a couple of years. It'll be her fight. Right now, it's our fight. And, we got to fix what's going on down there in Washington right now. That's it.
Yep.
And I think Albert is fighting now for his daughters, for his future generation. They will continue to fight. So that's why we have to teach them. We have to educate them. If not, the fight can't continue if they don't know what they're fighting for.
I grew up with, my mother was the president of the Bronx NAACP. And I grew up fighting the fight there for as long as I can remember. My late sister was the executive director of New York City Environmental Justice Alliance here in New York. She went on to do environmental law with all over the country. My other sister is with the Treasury Department, Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, catching guys like Trump. now that we've got the crooks out of the executive branch, the money launderers.
Oh man, it is so much that we could stay here and talk about tonight. And I think, Dr. Lowe, I have to bring you back one night with just you and I and attorney Hugh Campbell, because I always have to keep the attorney next to me, that in case I get out of line here with first hand before the lawsuit,
My dad used to say to me when my mom was giving me the business, don't make admissions without benefit of counsel. You need a good lawyer?
You have to have a good lawyer. You have to.
And shut up until the lawyer comes.
Absolutely.
If I'd like to interject something, because I'm inspired by something Dr. Lowe said a couple minutes ago, and it occurs to me that of any one of us here, he's probably most qualified to give some insight on what he considers as any progress, if any, that we've made since that Beyond Vietnam speech that Dr. King made, that you said you were in the audience. I can imagine that it must be a huge kind of historical weight and almost like an epiphany to consider the things that he fought against then and was so unpopular about. I mean, he was so unpopular that people really did not consider him a hero at the time that he made that speech. And here we are in 2022 fighting the same things that he fought against then: militarism, racism, capitalism. You know, he wanted a systemic change. How do you, Dr. Lowe, feel considering that we're still fighting that fight, as you say?
You're going to be fighting, you know, like the poor. It'll be with you forever. Okay, it's new with each generation. Okay, I mean, yeah, people don't realize that King was not popular. Malcolm was not popular. You know, Malcolm sat at our dinner table once or twice. My sister got into a argument with Malcolm on the corner of 125th Street and 8th Avenue. He made some statement and she didn't agree with him. And they met up again when he was coming back from the Hajj, and she was with my grandmother in Egypt on a trip to the Holy Land. And they became close friends.
Was she in more agreement with him by 1964 or?
It wasn't a disagreement in principle. It was a disagreement in detail. Okay. You know, I was a student at PNS when Malcolm. No, I just graduated when Malcolm was shot. You know, right across the street from Presbyterian Hospital.
So Dr. Lowe, you said we're going to be fighting this fight for next generation. My question is why?
No, not just the next generation,
but
and the generation
forever.
forever.
The question is why?
Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because we take 5 steps forward and 3 steps backward. You know, we've made a lot of progress from the time when my grandparents were alive. I look back over the history of just my mother's father's family. You know, he bought himself out of slavery back in 1827. He bought his wife out of slavery. The joke was he was free, but she wasn't. Paid $300 for her. I got a copy of the bill of sale. Okay. So look, you know, depending on how far your horizon is, you can see the progress. But a horizon is not, as Bill Coffin used to say, a horizon is nothing more than the limit of your vision. You know, and we have a limited vision of the progress that we're making. And if you watch the TV and listen to the news, the MSNBC, the CNN, you know, everything is apocalyptic.
But Doc, let me ask you a question, Dr. Lowe. Do you think, from a historical standpoint, and I always feel that economic wealth is one of the foundation to a successful Black and Brown community. Do you think Black folks are more independent economically now than when they were back in the days of the heart of the civil rights struggle?
Depends on, you know, first of all, economic independence is segmental. the hoi polloi, the greater masses of our people, the African diaspora here in America, are not going to benefit from economically. There are a group of us who are blessed and privileged to live a middle class or upper middle class existence.
Why won't the majority benefit?
Because of the way this country is structured. And it didn't start with this country. It goes back to Europe. It goes back to the Romans, the Greeks, the Egyptians. You know, in every society, there's a group that will benefit, and the greater masses will struggle.
But do you think if we start adopting a greater sense of sacrifice and start directing our finances in a more conscientious manner, that will change the direction?
You'll have what happened in Oklahoma, what happened in Florida. You know, they don't care how big, how close you get, just don't get too big. Okay.
No, I understand that, but if because we normally hear about who spends the most amount of money.
Yeah.
And if we go out and says we're going out on for example, Dr. King was at they were at a sanitation strike, worker strike. Mm-hmm. If we start saying we're not spending money, we're not doing certain things, we're not buying from this company, I'm going to walk 6 blocks down the street as opposed to supporting this company that doesn't support me, do you think that will change our outlook?
That's what made
to live Dr. King's dream.
That's what made the Montgomery boycott work. Okay, Americans do not respond to anything until you pinch them in the pocketbook nerve.
So what do we as a people can do to be more conscientious about that tool that we have that we're not utilizing?
We've got to recirculate the dollar within our community. That's how we build our own wealth. I forget how many times it is, 6 times? It circulates?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. One of the greatest expected side of the quote integration movement was the destruction of the Black economy. You know, when you were segregated, you don't do business with the Black barber, the Black lawyer, the Black, the Black this, the Black that. As soon as you were enabled to go outside of your community, our folks flew like a flock of pigeons. And there went the economic underpinning of our society. You know, people laugh about the old Amos and Andy shows. You ever have any of you ever seen them?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yes.
Okay. What was unique about that show? The lawyer was Black. The doctor was Black. Everybody, the policeman was Black. Everybody in that community, okay, you saw a whole community, and you saw role models for our people. Granted, they were clowns, but there was another message that could be taken from the old Amos and Andy show. And Kingfish was always he was a consummate entrepreneur. He was always scheming on some sort of business deal. So, I mean, we've got to support ourselves and support each other.
I think as an entrepreneur myself, I think that's key for our people to understand, right? We have to support entrepreneurship, right? We have to, yeah, it's you know, I got two kids upstairs, right? I'm not going to tell them don't go to college, right? College is just good. College is not for everyone, but you don't necessarily need to go and work for someone, right? You could go out and scheme on that, as long as it's legal, right? As long as it's legal, you go out and scheme on that, that deal, right? And I think our community, our people, we shy away from entrepreneurship, but we should run towards it.
Well, biggest problem is the issue of self-confidence.
Yeah.
It takes a hell of a lot of I mean, I for one was a victim of it. When I came out of active duty with the Navy, a friend and patient of mine offered me a place to start a practice. But I didn't have a dime to, two dimes to rub together. Or as they used to say, a pot to pee in or a window to throw it out of. Okay. And I was afraid to take up the offer. Well, had I taken it, my office would have been right above the famous restaurant in Harlem on 123rd Street and Manhattan Avenue, Perks. But I backed away from it because I did not have the confidence that I could make it. It took me another 10 years.
So I think Avril
to start a private practice.
I think Avril for another show. I think it's a show on entrepreneurship, right? Everyone here is an entrepreneur, right? And there's probably, there's 5 of us here, right? And there's probably 55 people that are listening that thought about entrepreneurship, right? So we should really, to service the community and to serve, on King Day, like I think the DA said it, every day should be King Day. I think we do a show on entrepreneurship. Don't get me wrong, it's not glamorous, right? It's definitely not glamorous, right? I could promise you that. Definitely not glamorous, right? But it is something that we need to, entrench in our communities, right? We need to build more entrepreneurs, to develop more entrepreneurs, to help more entrepreneurs. It's difficult. If it was easy, everyone would do it, right?
If I can give you another metaphor, I spent 21 years in the Navy as a Navy flight surgeon, and I've flown everything in the Navy's envelope, including jets, helicopters, etc. And there's nothing more that keep you on the edge than flying with what we call IFR in the clouds. If you can imagine driving down the road, you can't see the front of your car. Okay? That's what it's like. And being an entrepreneur is like always flying IFR.
IFR, inter-friendly fire?
Well, it means instrument flight rules.
Okay.
In other words, you're not flying because you can see. You're flying because you know where your compass is pointing, and you know what whether your bank turn and bank indicators are, and you have a clock, and it tells you how many knots you're going fast, and how long you're going.
Old school GPS.
What?
Old school GPS.
What? No GPS.
No, that was old school GPS.
There was no GPS, not old school anything. That was old school navigation.
That was called faith.
No. Look, that's how the pilots, Second World War, right up until GPS flew, until just after the war they started getting electronic. But the point is, being an entrepreneur is similar to that. there's so many unknowns, so many things you cannot see. Your best laid plans, you know, can go south in a heartbeat. And the question is, what do you do about it when it happens? The main issue is resilience. You know, my grandmother used to say, I don't know, you guys ever play with a Spalding? You know what a Spalding is?
Yeah, little blue ball. The bird
It's
or
a
the
rubber ball.
Yeah, the blue ball. Uh-huh.
Yeah, but I mean, but the old rubber balls, they were the best. You played stickball with them, played all kinds of games.
Handball. Mm-hmm.
The harder you slap it down, the higher it will bounce. And that's the thing that you know, no matter how many times you fall down, you got to get up and you got to bounce. And the best thing, the best revenge is living well. Okay. And what's the worst thing that can happen to you in life?
Yeah.
The last mistake you will ever make is to die, because that's the only mistake you can't do anything else about and you can't recover from.
Yep.
Okay. So be fearless.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And if I might, Dr. Lowe, I mean, the gears are going off because first of all, it's nice to know that there's a shipmate on board. You know, of course, you preceded me. I don't know if it was Korea or Vietnam era, but I was the Persian Gulf era aviation maintenance administration.
Okay.
And one of my greatest lessons coming out of the naval aviation billet that I served with Marines, no less, was that most of the work that we do as African people, as a support element for a system, is to keep it going, even though it acts as a leech upon us. And that's something that I want to actually dovetail off. It actually dovetails off of something Brother Campbell said. It's something you said, Dr. Lowe, because, well, Brother Campbell preceded something. He said something to the effect of sacrifice and the lack of real dedication that we make collectively, mostly, but obviously there are individual implications too. But you followed something in that same sentiment. You followed with a statement in terms of a reference to Oklahoma and Florida, and I think you're probably referring to Tulsa and Rosewood in terms of the pogroms that African people have suffered in this country whenever we were financially, politically, and socially independent of the larger dynamic, and we were attacked militarily. So it wasn't enough to be wealthy or even politically independent. We had to be militarily effective, which we weren't. So I'm not making a conversation for, ironically, any so-called military response to our oppression on Dr. King's Day, because he wouldn't have advocated that, obviously. Although, ironically, Dr. King, and this is something I want to put to you, Dr. Lowe, because Dr. Lowe, you probably remember that the SCLC deployed the Alliance of the Deacons for Defense during the marches. So while nonviolence was a strategic vision, they didn't shun the common sense nature of self-defense, whether it meant bullets or not. So
they didn't deploy the deacons. They didn't discourage the deacons from attending and participating.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, I've heard narratives that they were invited and they were, but that's, I mean, Dr. King owned the 38 Special, so the question.
Oh yeah.
Right. So I don't question the wisdom of nonviolence. I'm just saying there's a place for self-defense, and where African people are willing to die, we usually win. But it's when we turn our cheek that we tend to go along with the integration program that finds us here 53 years later, fighting the same fight Dr. King said we should be fighting in 1968. I mean, 67, because his Beyond Vietnam speech cautioned us to, you know, do better at the anti-war struggle that we should have been fighting, at the anti-materialist struggle we should have been fighting, that while housing and voting rights were important, here we are in 2022, being able to vote somewhat and being able to, you know, live some of the integrated life we won 50, 60 years ago, but we can't even, this, metaphorically, this system is a sinking ship and we're going down with it, although we could save it because we have the culture to save it. So I guess, you know, I want to stop, I get off the soapbox. I guess the question is, what aspect of our struggle going forward will we finally learn in your eldership? How long do you think it'll take us to learn that our traditional return to our cultural Africanness is going to save America and save the world, rather than us trying to adopt an Americanness to try and save ourselves?
Well, the A part of that is each generation is going to have to learn it for itself. Now, those who are wise will listen to the lessons they are taught. Those who are less wise will have to learn the lessons through experience. Experience teaches. And the fool won't learn any lessons. Now, the question is, you know, something I learned as a kid. I may not have agreed with what my parents wanted me to do at any given time. But quickly enough, I got smart to the fact that it's to my benefit to listen to what they're asking me to do. Okay? I got, as a young college student and a teenager, I came home from college one day and my parents said, "Get dressed, we're going to dinner." Now, what 20-year-old wants to go to dinner with his mother and father? Well, we went to dinner at the aforementioned Jackie Lucky's house. And who's at the house but the dean at Columbia? That's how I ended up getting into Columbia a year early, after 3 years of college instead of doing all 4. You know, these be the laws of the Navy. Many and varied they be. You know that poem?
No.
Oh, send me your email address. I'll send it to you.
All right, I'll make sure you get it.
But ye who are wise will obey them when you go down in your ships to the sea. Okay? But the deck and the carriage of the law is obey. You know? And you get the first thing you got to learn is humility.
Well, listen, when I decided, when Hugh and I talk about this holiday, I said, well, you know what? We'll do a show about Martin Luther King. And I remember speaking to the DA, and Hugh said 9 to 11. Normally, I would say 9 to 10. Hugh said 9 to 11. So I said, all right, let's go ahead. So I said to the DA, don't worry about it. We're not going to go until 11 o'clock. Then tonight she had a headache. So I said, you ain't got to worry about it because we're going to do 9 to 10. And she said, well, you know, I'm going to be there for you. And I said, we're out of there by 10. Well, I'm just saying there's something about Hugh. Maybe it's something that the lawyers know that I don't know. Because I could have tell Albert 9 to 10, I tell Geoff 9 to 10, and I'm there with this 9 to 10.
Well, I'm
But
glad
when it comes to knowledge and it comes to what we're doing here, it can go forever. And that's why I made sure that I excused the DA and the Bronx Board president and Senator Jamaal Bailey, because we know, just like all of us got to wake up in the morning. And Dr. Lowe, I know you probably don't sleep like some of these Shara Queen and these young people that sleep and say, I need 8 hours sleep. Otherwise, we'll be talking from 12 to, I don't know, Albert probably up at 4. I don't know if he sleeps. But
well, let me tell you something. Since my second year medical school, okay, we used to work 36 hours on and 12 off, if you could get the 12 off. Which meant that basically you learned to sleep in, if you got to sleep in a whole block, you slept for 4 hours in a block. And Geoff, you served in the Navy. If you served watch, you know, watch standing was every 4 hours. 4 hours on and 4 hours off. My secret is I have no problems taking a nap. We used to call it a combat nap. Okay? Take your nap when you can. You know, as a resident at Harlem and Lincoln and Jacoby, you know, you were going. Your priority was to get some sleep when you could, and eat if the food was available. But you had to keep your eye on the mission. And in those days, it was take care of patients. And you hung in there until you couldn't hang in anymore.
wow. So they had me fooled lately. Everybody said, girl, you ain't sleeping. You need 8 hours, 9 hours of sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't, someone said to me, oh, I sleep so much until my back is hurting or the side is hurting. So I said, maybe it's too much sleep. But we think that all the sleep in the world is what's going to get us to be your age. So we proved them wrong tonight from the expert, Dr. Lowe.
Well, like I said, if you slept 8 hours a day, every day of your life, you slept 1/3 of your life away when you reach your grave.
Well, tonight we, as Albert say, we have to come back. There is so much education, and I heard Shara Queen, who is calling out someone to say, we got to share this live. This is great information. So when you hear young someone saying that, it says a lot. And it means that we have to start to educate the people. I always hear Albert talk about college, and I learn a lot from him. And lately I've been so quiet. Sometimes Hugh Campbell got to call and look for me. But I said, I'm here. I learned to be behind the scene and doing, because Albert always use a term, and I hear Hugh use it. You know, you ain't got to be out there saying what you're doing, you know. It's not all about saying, as Geoff said tonight, what we're doing here in Mount Vernon, I don't speak about it. It's not something I have to speak about, you know, but it's so much work that is getting done in the community, and I see the change, and people have to get involved in more. People have to get more involved. And as Darcel, our district attorney, says, the work is not just for the DA or for the attorney, it's for everybody. Community, we have to come together to make the change. And Dr. Lowe, it seems like we could sit here for another 3 hours and listen to you and don't sleep, you know. And you'll be back. We have other shows to talk about that. I can see that Albert was ready to say sleep, but you woke him up a few hours ago. I saw that. So I guess he won't mind come back, because it's good to talk about this, because I heard him talk about college and his daughter, and whether, you know, college is not for everyone. And it's good to hear from men like you, Dr. Lowe.
If I could just give Al, if I could give you just a word, encourage your daughter to pursue the college?
Oh, she's going. She don't have an option. She's going.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's going. There's not an option.
That's
Oh, no, it's not optional.
That's what I
No.
wanted to hear.
I think what I wanted, and I want to make clear, entrepreneurship. She doesn't, after college, she doesn't necessarily need to go punch a clock. She could own one of my businesses, right? So, or she has a choice, right? So the message for the listeners and the message that we want to put forward, I want to put forward on future shows like this and podcasts that I do, is entrepreneurship is important. You don't necessarily need to go and punch a clock. I work for corporate America. I worked for the city for a little while. All those hospitals that you mentioned, I worked in those hospitals as a TV man. I used to be the guy to shut the TV off when people didn't pay. Somebody had to do it.
I'm glad you open up tonight and tell me, Albert.
Oh,
Gotta look into you now.
You know, somebody had to do it.
I testified against your company.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
In a lawsuit for one of my patients.
Exactly. So I used to work for those guys, and then after, a couple of years later, I did that during high school and college, right? That's how I put myself through college. And about at least 10, about 11, 12 years ago, I used to work for a large company, a very large company, global company, the one of two black directors of a global company. And the best thing that ever happened to me was one of my white directors called me the N-word in an email. I'm the director of IT, right? Information technology. You're gonna put that in an email. Like one of my guys, every time he hits delete, I want you to copy it. The guy hit delete like 357 times. And I vowed to myself that I would never work for anyone again the rest of my life. So I'm like, I gotta go look it up again.
Yeah, they asked me, Dr. Lowe, what hospital are you with? I'm not institutionalized any longer.
There you go. Exactly. Right. So exactly. So she has to go to college. It's not even a choice. But after college, she has many choices.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you what my dad told me. He said, son, you get an education not to get a job. You get an education so you make your own job.
Correct.
Yep.
Something to we learn every day. You get an education not to get a job, but you get an education to create your own job.
That's right.
And I will be honest that since I've met people like Albert William, who is young, he's proud to say his age, and attorney Hugh Campbell, who seems to be around for 100 years, I've learned from the best. Yeah, not quite yet. Yeah, but
Hugh's still a youngster. I remember when he joined Dow.
Yeah.
I've learned from the best. I thank Geoff Munroe also for believing in me and pulling me on board and say, come on. And when I sit there and listen to all these men, I say, I'm so empowered. And I now understand what you say, Dr. Lowe. You get an education to create your job. But one of the things that you said earlier that made me blush was when you say we don't have that, it's a word Albert used. You said it. You don't believe in yourself. You don't believe you could do it. You don't have the money to do it. Self-confidence. And many times I listen to Albert, and many times I listen to myself, and I see all that I can do. And I can be my own boss. I can educate people. I can hire somebody. I know what I can do, but you don't have that where you believe you can do it. And sometimes, as you say, you don't have the funds to start it. And even though we hear they have all these money they want you to start your own, it still seems so difficult sometimes to get the funding to start your own business.
But you see, Avril, that's when the brainstorming comes about, like Albert is mentioning, because we have to start getting together and exchanging ideas. That's something we tend to don't do a lot of because we all live in our own little space. Yeah. And, because everybody's got a phone and they can do everything from, text, email, Facebook. We don't come together and have a collaboration as to different ideas, different needs, different resources. I mean,
we don't have a barbershop anymore.
Right. How
You
many
know,
times do we know of resources and we said, you know what? Let's share the resources that we have. If someone needs something, share that. You know, if
and the
someone have something, share that. I mean, we don't do that. And I think that's what we need is that sharing community. We need that community where we can engage
Well,
I was a member of
on a regular basis.
That's what we as Black students at City College did back in 68 and 69.
You know, about
We
5
got
years
together and ended up, all of us ended up in medical school.
About 5 years ago, I was a member of a mastermind group, 156 men. And nothing against women. The guy that ran the group he said he couldn't mentor women because he's not a woman, right? Which made perfect sense to us. So there was 156 men in this group, and how many of them were African American? If you were to take a guess.
Was it one?
Two.
Okay.
Two. Me and another guy, right? And it tells me that our people, one of the problems we have is we don't invest in ourselves. And when we know something, we keep it to ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not in the medical business. It doesn't matter. I talk to my competitors all the time, right? Because I can't pick up all the people in the Bronx. I don't want to pick up all the people in the Bronx, right? So we don't invest in ourselves. We don't invest in our communities. And a mastermind group is something like you said, the barbershop, Dr. Lowe. I used to own a barbershop, right? You ain't got no hair. I used to own a barbershop.
Yeah,
let me ask you this question.
You got a beard.
Let me ask you this question, though, Doc. Serious question, Avril. Serious question. How come you got hair and I don't?
Me?
Yeah, you got hair. You got like more. You got a whole head of hair.
And Geoff.
But I mean, and Hugh, I don't understand. What's happening here? Where did I go
Because
wrong?
you're young, you still got time for growth.
Oh, okay.
Well,
right,
let me appeal.
All right,
let me
Geoff, you can laugh out loud. It's okay.
Let me appeal to your ego. It probably has more to do with your testosterone.
Oh, here we go.
High level of testosterone. You know, the more testosterone, the less of this.
Yeah. Okay. Oh man, it's such a good thing. I mean, we don't want the DA to know that we're still here after 11 because I think if she had bet me, she would have won. And I guarantee her, oh no, we're not going to be there this long. You could hold that. But I should have known when it comes to attorney Hugh Campbell and we have someone like Dr. Lowe and Geoff. I listen to Geoff speak sometime and Albert sometimes. I say, Albert, I don't want to bother you because sometimes I feel his hands is full. He's doing 50 million things, but that says a lot when people are busy. But I want to thank everyone because it's your education that helped me to know where I'm going, what I need to do, what I'm not doing enough of. And one of the things that I need to build on is confidence, because as I always say to Hugh, why is it I can go out and beg for everyone and talk for everyone and rally for everyone, but when I'm in need, I don't know how to ask for myself? And that's the confidence that I need to break out of, is being able to say, I need it, I need. And maybe I could have been further if I knew how to just ask for what I want.
Part of it is what my pastor told me once when I was in need. Pride is a sin.
Pride.
The sin that holds you back.
Pride is for losers. That's what I say now.
What?
Pride is for losers.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, but it's the pride. It's the pride that holds you back from asking for what you need.
Yeah,
100%. Yep. People are afraid to say. I need help or I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and there's a lot that I don't know. Right, and so that's a fact.
Yeah.
But let me add one thing in terms of tonight's program, and I just want to say for Avril, I think you should be lauded and congratulated because, again, your program is normally 1 hour, 9 to 10. When we spoke about it, and I said, no, we had a lot of ground to cover. This was a special day, and I suggested until 11. And I just showed you because I felt that, this was a day of sacrifice. And you stepped up and said, you know what, I'm going to go that distance. And everybody on this program went that distance tonight and gave that extra hour, because that's the thing that I think that we all need to start developing that need to sacrifice in order to get where we need to go. And you should be congratulated and thanked for, making this platform, this forum available so that we can go past 11 o'clock tonight.
Well,
Thank you so much. And I would definitely let the DA know tomorrow that we went until 11:15.
Yes.
And I'm going to let her know it with information. We know that we have to splice this show, and I have to put this segment out there because someone else needs to take this and run with it. This information just cannot just go. And we know after the show it's promoted. And I was told through social media, some of my shows that they promote after. But when it comes to the elected officials, I have to get a certain thing signed off on Facebook for them to promote the show. It's all kind of red tape when it comes to politics. So, but this segment I definitely have to push because more people need to hear this information. It's nice to hear Geoff ask a question or Albert ask a question. It means that every day of our life we are learning, and we are learning from someone else. So we don't know enough, and we could never know enough. And Albert, I really want to thank you for giving me your time tonight, and thank you for being
way past my bedtime.
Way past it. Thank you.
My kids put me to sleep. My kids tuck me in. My kids tuck me in. They come and say, "Daddy, have a good night." Yeah.
That's right. And thank you so much, Problem Phipps. Thank you. He said great information, very informative. Geoff, thank you so much for, I can say thank you to everyone here. And I don't know, maybe that's why I'm always, as Dr. Lowe said, driving in my car by myself. My passenger seat is always empty because I always surround myself with great influential people, and great men are always there. So thank you. And as of tonight, I'm going to tear down that wall that been holding me back for so long. That wall of being afraid to tell Albert what I really want to do. And he's always pulling it out of me. And I know he's there. And I know Attorney Hugh Campbell is there. But why I still cannot ask? The pride. So we have to get away with the pride and open up and be that door that we open to other people. And we'll be coming back with part 2 of this kind of segment because we have so much information to share. And Geoff, I'll be definitely joining you on Thursday. So
and Geoff and Dr. Lowe, my email address is sent to you in the chat. So definitely you guys should have it. And if I could be of any service, by all means, reach out to us.
And I'll definitely send it out to everyone, or I'll have Hugh send it out to everyone. So we'll exchange and have everyone information.
That's you, Geoff? Albert?
Yes.
Okay.
AJW. Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
And Geoff, everyone will be getting Hugh, what I
I'll send the email around.
That's right.
The email.
And it's funny, I was saying tonight, an attorney, Hugh Campbell, who's so busy, I call him my co-host, and I'll say, Hugh, can you send out this email?
Hey, Avril, you're keeping Hugh too busy because we got other stuff to do. Hugh, we got a lot of work to do.
Don't worry, when I sign off, I'm going to my next office.
All right, very good.
Well, I think even though we have a lot of work to do, man, Albert, I thank you for believing in my dreams and everything I set out to do. You're always ready. I think Geoff get disconnected by accident. Yeah. So I really thank you for being there for me and for the things I want to do. And I step out on my YouTube channel to start, they say, rebuild it. And I was looking at having over 21,000 views on something on my page that they took away from me. And not took away, but it's now Google. So I said, okay, let me rebuild my Google channel so I could start to put this information out there to someone out there who is in need of this information. So thank you for everyone for believing in me and helping me to grow. And Dr. Lowe, I'll be reaching back out to you and I'll be like, Hugh, send Dr. Lowe an email for me. So we'll be back with this forum because we have some different topics to talk about. And Albert, as you heard, because we know you're in the community with your taxi company and we hear about Best Deal, someone say, oh, that's him. because I guess they hear best deal, but they don't look at thinking it's some young man who's running Best Deal. So when they say, oh, that's him from Best Deal, yes, this is Albert. So support your own, support your community, and keep your community striving. Because imagine we call up some of these companies that when they lost something, they can't find it. But one thing Albert gonna tell you right away, oh, I know who the driver is. And you're gonna get it done. So we got to support each other. Instead of talking about we're not getting anywhere or people are not getting anywhere, but when your people are trying to get somewhere, where is our people to support us? We got to support each other.
Wow.
Yep.
You know what that commercial says? It's not about perfection, it's about progress.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you, Sister Avril. This was a pleasure. It's good to meet you, gentlemen.
Same here. Pleasure's all mine.
Okay.
Have a good night.
Good night, everyone.
Stay well.
Winds and following seas.
Thank you. Good night, everyone. Good night, Dr. Lowe.
Good night,
Albert. Good night, Geoff. And
Good
good
night.
night, Attorney Hugh Campbell.
All right. Very good.